Perceptive readers, Jamespoeartistry.online listeners, this is a special reading of Leviticus chapter 18. Now, I want you to keep in mind as we go through the readings that these are still principles that we follow today. Back when there was a theocracy for the nation of Israel, God's rule, keep in mind that these were laws and the people followed them. Now, the Christian congregation today, again, recognize these laws or principles, and they certainly mold their life towards God's laws and principles, all the while realizing that not everyone believes in the same way that the Holy Bible brings out. This reading of Leviticus chapter 18 is a reading from the King James translation of the Bible, so I want to make you aware of that. No, I think this one is now, I'm seeing the New International Version. I'll have to get the King James Version for you. But no, this is then the New International Version, okay, of the reading that we're going over. But what I want you to keep in mind is this reading will be slated or slotted to stay on the Levels of Leadership page at the Jamespoeartistry.online website, okay? And it will also, you see, most likely rotate from the Always Remember the True God. You see that page. Always keep the true God in mind, you see. Never forget the true God. And so these are the pages that have Whose Eyes Power presentations on them, you see, that will certainly have this reading of Leviticus chapter 18 in it. But I want to emphasize again that even though we're not under a theocracy or God's rule presently, in the future, we will be again. And so you can already see that God has stated this is still what I say is holy and a correct way of living. And so we know under theocracy, all of this will be implemented again, these views and also the way of living in holiness. Okay. Now, I still want to ask you this question though, or to meditate on these thoughts as we go through the reading. Since for many people, these would just be principles or universal facts of, yeah, this is just what we should do or we should be like in the first place. You know, that's what some people would say, even intellectuals. All the same, what I would ask you to do is meditate on the benefits of listening to God's word in this matter, or if you experience the adverse situations when people did not follow these principles and laws that God has laid out in Leviticus chapter 18. At least you know they are there. This may not, not everyone may agree with me on this next statement, but see, these are still laws and principles designed for what? Successful living, abundant living and life and happiness. Okay? So let us begin in Leviticus chapter 18, and we're going to read the whole chapter. Verse 1. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, I am the Lord your God. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. You must obey my laws and be careful to follow my decrees. I am the Lord your God. Keep my decrees and laws, for the person who obeys them will live by them. I am the Lord. No one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. That would dishonor your father. Do not have sexual relations with your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether she was born in the same home or elsewhere. Do not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would dishonor you. Do not have sexual relations with the daughter of your father's wife, born to your father. She is your sister. Do not have sexual relations with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. Do not have sexual relations with your mother's sister, because she is your mother's close relative. Do not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations. She is your aunt. Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not have sexual relations with both a woman and her daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are her close relatives. That is wickedness. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is living. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanness of her monthly period. Do not have sexual relations with your neighbor's wife and defile her or defile yourself with her. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Molech, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. Do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations with it. That is a perversion. Do not defile yourself in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I am going to drive out before you became defiled. Even the land was defiled, so I punished it for its sin, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But you must keep my decrees and my laws. The native born and the foreigners reside among you must not do any of these detestable things. For all these things were done by the people who lived in the land before you, and the land became defiled. And if you defile the land, it will vomit you out as it vomited out the nations that were before you. Everyone who does any of these detestable things, such persons must be cut off from their people. Keep my requirements and do not follow any of the detestable customs that were practiced before you came, and do not defile yourselves with them. I am the Lord your God. And in closing, perceptive readers, everywhere you see the statement, I am the Lord. I am the Lord your God. There are translations, and they're sticking true to the form and also tetragrammaton, if you will, of showing God's personal name, Jehovah. Have a wonderful day. I hope you have benefited from this reading of the Holy Scriptures, also known as the Good Book and the Holy Bible, whose author is Jehovah God.